Some ideas survive centuries not because they are comforting, but because they are true in ways people often ignore. One of those ideas is the ancient phrase, "Give them bread and circuses, and they will never rebel." At first, it sounds like something from history books, something tied to ancient societies, empires, and forgotten rulers. But if you look closer, it starts to feel uncomfortably modern. Because this was never just about food or entertainment, it was about distraction. Bread represents survival, the basic needs, food, shelter, stability, the things that keep life going day by day. Circuses represent entertainment, noise, spectacle, constant stimulation, things that fill time and attention. On their own, neither is dangerous. In fact, both are necessary. But the idea becomes powerful when you understand what happens when they dominate everything. When survival and distraction become the center of a person's life, something quietly fades in the background. The habit of questioning, the ability to think deeply, the space to reflect. This is not a new pattern. Throughout history, societies have noticed something simple but important. When people are overwhelmed with immediate concerns or constantly entertained, they have less mental space to think beyond the surface. And when thinking becomes shallow, acceptance becomes easier. Not because people are forced, but because they are not paying attention. Life becomes a cycle of work, consumption, entertainment, and repetition. Days move fast, attention moves faster, and somewhere in that speed, deeper questions get postponed again and again, until eventually they stop being asked at all. Bread and circuses are not villains, they are not evil in themselves. The problem begins when they take up all the space, when survival takes all energy, when entertainment takes all attention, when there is nothing left for reflection. Because attention is limited, and whatever captures it most consistently begins to shape perception, not through force, but through habit. And habits feel harmless until you realize how much they decide for you. This is not about rejecting comfort, not about rejecting entertainment, not about stepping away from everyday life. Those things are part of being human. The real idea here is balance, to live, but also to observe how you are living, to work, but also to think, to enjoy, but also to pause and ask questions. Because a life without reflection is not necessarily controlled by others. It can also be self-contained, where everything important gets postponed indefinitely. Something subtle happens when questioning disappears. Decisions start feeling automatic. Opinions start feeling inherited. Choices start feeling less like choices and more like reactions. And over time, a person can begin to accept things without fully understanding them, simply because there was never a moment to stop and analyze. Not out of ignorance, but out of constant movement. The lesson here is not suspicion, it is awareness. Not to distrust everything, but to stop accepting everything blindly. To keep a part of your mind awake even when life is busy. To notice what is shaping your attention. To ask simple but important questions. Why am I focusing on this? Is this important to me or just occupying me? What am I not seeing because I'm too distracted to look deeper? These questions do not slow life down, they give it depth. In the end, bread and circuses will always exist in some form. We all need stability. We all need moments of rest, enjoyment, and distraction. But the danger begins when those things become the entire structure of attention. Because a mind that never pauses to reflect becomes easier to influence without even realizing it. And a life without reflection slowly becomes a life on autopilot. So the real message is simple. Do not reject life. but do not let life run without awareness. Because a conscious mind is harder to mislead, harder to manipulate, and much harder to silence. And more importantly, it remains free in a way that no distraction can fully take away. If you love this video, make sure to like this and subscribe to the channel for more content like this.